Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of From the District with State Senator Suzanne Weber. Uh,
Hi.
Senator, gosh,
It's
it's been a while.
it's been a while since we did this because we were kind of embroiled in a cycle of crazy there for a while.
Well, we
So
are
we
in a,
didn't have any kind of a solution to anything that we were being crazy about.
I feel like we are in a perpetual cycle of crazy. So here's the thing. We're recording this now on October 8th,
Yes,
which is a full month and a half after we intended to do this,
yes,
because we intended to wait until the special session was over. We knew a special session was coming, and we expected that special session right about Labor Day. And so we figured right after Labor Day, we would record a special session edition that would give a recount of what happened, because
right.
we wanted to we didn't want to record one of these and have nothing to talk about what happened when it was kind of the big thing that people were talking about.
Well, we had nothing concrete to relate.
No, which seems to be like the whole theme of transportation in Oregon legislation. We don't know what's going on.
Here's the thing. We are still dealing with projects that were unfinished from 2017.
Yeah. So here's what we want to do today, everyone. We want to recount the drama that was the summer about
Yes.
transportation package. So let's start back first of all with how we ended the session. There had been some discussion for months.
You have to go a little farther back.
Right. There had
Right.
been discussions months and months and months, probably since the beginning of the session, if not before, because there was going to be this big transportation package.
Yes.
And we waited, and we waited, and we waited. And then we finally got a framework in like May, right? So keep in mind, the legislature.
We did.
The
Now,
legislature
now let me tell you that I was on part of the negotiating committee
right.
to try and build this plan that would be acceptable to everyone.
Right.
And it was structured such that we would have these meetings, but we couldn't ever talk about what happened in the meetings.
Right. It was
And
quite
so we as Republicans, we brought our ideas to the table.
Yep.
And everything was going fine until all of a sudden President Wagner and Speaker Fahey wanted a report on everything that we were doing. Things weren't moving like they wanted them to, and they said pencils down. And then suddenly we were provided with 2025, the new transportation bill.
right.
And we were provided that came to committee without us even having any kind of a clue as to what was in the bill.
Right.
Because we thought we were making great progress in coming to some agreement on some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden it was null and void. Step back. We will handle this. And here's what you're going to get. Well,
right. So yeah, that's what I think Republicans did, is they stepped back because it was clear that your opinions didn't matter. I think the Republicans offered a solution bill, which didn't raise taxes, and it took care of all those projects that you mentioned, still trying to finish back from 2017.
We had more than one iteration. We had an iteration that went to the 2025, and we also had an iteration that went to 3991.
Right.
But everything was ignored.
Right. So the Democrats have super majorities in both chambers. Super majorities were going to be required because it raised revenue.
Yes.
Democrats have super majority in both sides, and so Republicans said, "Well, have at it, I guess." And unfortunately, unfortunately for the Democrats, perhaps fortunately for Oregonians, they were unable to get it passed because they could not get their entire caucus on board. Right.
Right. They could not. And As a result, it didn't even come to the Senate for a vote.
Mhm.
I mean, we were there late night, and finally it was like, this is it. This is the end. We're going home. We're not doing this anymore.
Right.
And the bill did not come to the Senate floor.
Right.
So
So
it was dead.
I know they tried a number of ways. They had the big HB 2025 that you mentioned, that was the full on the kitchen sink of what the Democrats wanted. And then turned out that when the Democrats couldn't actually get their entire their own caucus to vote for it, they pared it down. They still couldn't get the entire caucus to vote for it. They changed the members of the Transportation Committee, kicked off
Yes.
Senator Meek,
Changed the
he voted
leadership,
for it.
everything.
And then they finally just brought like a flat out 6-cent gas tax increase, and they couldn't get everybody on board for that on the Democrat side.
Right.
So eventually the whole session just ended by doing nothing.
Except standing around and pointing fingers and blaming everybody.
Yes.
Yeah. And you know, the big thing about that 2025 bill is, other than those projects from 2017, there were no projects in that bill. And you and I both know how extremely important Highway 6 is
Right.
to our economic viability here on the coast. And
Right.
they would not address that.
Right. Which I know is one of the reasons
Yeah.
that he's adamantly against it.
And one of the things that we brought to the bargaining table was a pot of money that could be used for these sorts of projects. Of course, it could ultimately come from the money that was dedicated to cap and trade, which went to DEQ, which then goes to nonprofits. That money could have come back and been able to take care of the transportation plan throughout the state, and it could also have made sure that we had money for projects, because our roads everywhere are falling apart.
Right. Yeah. So that is where we ended. In end of June, we had the very cranky Governor Kotek get up and say that she was going to ruin everyone's holidays and ruin all of your summer plans.
Yep.
And she ruined one of them. She called this special session over Labor Day weekend to deal with.
Yes, she did. She did. But
Well,
you know,
what happened?
there's a fatal flaw there
Yeah.
in calling it at that time, because Senator Gorsuch had a very serious back surgery, and he did not fare well after the surgery. And I can't tell you exactly what impacted his health, but he had to remain in the hospital. He had to remain hospitalized after that surgery for several weeks, and I think he is probably in a rehab situation right now because it was so serious.
Right.
But nobody took into consideration that they were not going to be able to wheel him on the floor to vote, because one of the things they told us, and I'm speaking from the Senate now, is that we just need you to provide quorum. We have the votes. That was the message that we got. If you want to show up, okay, but don't if you don't want to, because, like I said, they told us they had the vote. Well, they needed 18 votes, and the 18th vote was Senator Gorsuch. And his doctors said he's not leaving the hospital.
Right. Senator Gorsuch had been ill for some time for a number of things. I mean, he had heart problems and some other problems. So he's not been a well man in a lot of ways.
So this took, well, then it was, we were going to have the special session on the 17th. Well, he still couldn't come and be a part of it. Right. So then it was till the end of the month. That's one whole month that we waited. That, you know, there's a whole lot of consternation by some people saying that this was the most expensive special session ever. And it was because the House gavelled in and voted, and then it was sent to the Senate. Senator Gorsuch could not come, and so they kept delaying that. In that delay, it required us to be paid the $178 a day that we get.
Mm-hmm.
And so they would come in and gavel in every 3 days, and there would be nothing that they could report. No, we couldn't come back and vote. And so during that time,
Well, you could have.
it
Would have failed.
It would have failed. And that was not an option for our governor.
That's too bad. You know, we talked about this. The real solution would be perhaps negotiate with some Republicans on a bill that wasn't so awful that you had to require someone to be wheeled in to vote.
Well, that we did provide that. And the governor did ask our leadership what had to happen in order to get us there to vote yes. But anything we brought to the table was not acceptable to be a bargaining item.
Mm-hmm.
And so that it went nowhere.
So
But it did something that I think was deplorable, in that they laid off, or they sent layoff notices to the people who are the most important. And they're the ones that keep our roads open in the wintertime, in the summertime, when Highway 6 decides to drop 8 inches, when we've got a bump on Highway 26 that people are, getting airborne on.
right.
And
Right.
and that I had a number here. I know that what they also did in the process was I'm sorry for the Martin moment. I don't know who decided to walk down the street right now, but I wish they'd keep going.
Martin's remembering.
Yes. But anyway, what did I just say? Anyway, they had a number of jobs. Initially, they said they were going to be laying off 800 people, but they had 400 jobs that hadn't been filled.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what they did was they eliminated those jobs.
Right.
So they were going to lay off 480. I don't remember the exact number. But those were people that keep our roads open. I mean, the snowplow drivers.
I wonder how many PR people got laid off. How many administrators?
We were told that there were administrators that left. But we didn't have any kind of a number on that. I'm looking at my piece of paper here to see, because in 2024, they had ODOT employees had 131 resignations. In 2025, they had 206.
Had 200 we have 400 jobs not filled, 200 that resigned.
Yeah.
So really, we're talking about 200 jobs.
Yes.
Which, it's always sad when people lose their jobs.
Right. It is.
But we probably could have backfilled that with the amount of money we spent on a special session.
Yeah, and 54 of those folks were on the layoff list. But then, see, it brings up all sorts of emotional issues for the people that are on that layoff list, because they're all union members.
Well, of course.
And so then they have the ability to bump someone else. Mm-hmm. And then you have a lot of retirees. And when you have retirees like that in a sudden thing like this, you're losing all your institutional knowledge. Right. And you also have young people that don't want to go to work there because there's no job security. There's a lot of things that, play into this whole issue.
Well, eventually, though, here about a week ago.
Yeah.
A
week ago Monday.
The bill.
Yeah, we finally got the bill.
It was a partisan vote.
It went exactly like they said. 18 votes in favor.
Right. So all of the Republicans in the Senate voted no.
Right.
However, it did pass, and we are awaiting the signature of the governor, which he has not given. And I think there's a good reason for that, or a good reason to her. And that leads us into the next step in this process: is will this ever actually remain law? Because there's a pretty active organization, probably a fairly well-funded organization, who wants to refer this
Yes.
to voters.
Yes, there is. And I don't know if anyone saw the stack of testimony. You know, our folks went through every piece of testimony that came in, and 94% of that testimony told legislators to vote no.
Right.
94%. So, okay, now that's not looking at the whole state and everybody that's in it. It's looking at the people who cared enough to be able to navigate the system, to be able to provide testimony. But that doesn't include the people that I'd meet on the street saying, you better not be voting for that. This is, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who go to their elected official, their legislator, and tell them, please don't vote for that. That doesn't count as official testimony.
No,
but it's still
doesn't.
voicing their opinion. How many people did you have, Senator, tell you to vote for it?
That was, we counted, and it was, I think, between 10 and 15.
Right. How many people?
And that's something
you
that
not
we
to
have
vote for it?
hundreds of people emailing.
Yeah. Right. So about 15 to what, 500-600?
Yeah.
I think we figured that we
At least.
vote no.
If I would, I didn't look in my file before we started this, but we've got them all in a file,
Right.
so that we have the data that backs up why we make the decisions we do when it comes to vote.
Right. Because I know when you are unsure of what direction to go, the first question you ask is, what are people saying in the district? And that's why we say, if you're going to write to Senator Weber, put your name, put your address. And
Yes.
if you want to call back, if you want to talk, put your phone number, but your name and your address. And the reason for that is that the folks who from in the district, they matter the most because they're the people you represent.
Yes.
So the reason we mentioned that the governor has not signed the bill is because you have 90 days from the end of the special session to turn in the required 80,000 or so signatures. But
and they will collect more just to make sure that
you always
valid.
want more than the request. There's always somebody who isn't actually a registered voter or lives in Washington, or people make mistakes. Yes. But that time starts immediately after the special session is over. But the governor has 30 days to sign the bill, and that doesn't stop the clock. So she is, we all expect, going to use every single minute that she can of those 30 days so that it makes it even harder for folks to refer it to the ballot. Now, obviously, she didn't tell us that, but I think she's a pretty sly political person.
Well, the thing is, she has already come out and said, don't sign those petitions.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and she knows what happened the last time a transportation package went to the voters. It went down in spectacular amounts of flames. I think 80% voted no. So obviously she hasn't signed it yet. We suspect she will not sign it till probably beginning of November. But for those folks who want to know about where signature opportunities will be, you can go to notaxor, so NOTAXOR.com, and you can put your name and contact information. And as soon as those petitions are available, you'll be able to print one out.
Yes.
And sign it and send it in. Collect some from your friends and your family. Or you'll probably, I'm guessing, they'll probably put some signing parties, locations, if you want to do it that
Yes.
way, and all the information about what that campaign will look like. That'll be at notaxor.com.
Yeah, and we have 3 people that are spearheading this. We have Senator Bruce Starr.
Yep.
And he was very involved in the Transportation Committee.
Yep. He's
And
now
he's now Republican, the minority leader. And Representative Ed Deal and Jason Williams. Those are the 3 chief petitioners for this.
Excellent.
So, they're working extremely hard.
3 great political pragmatists, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
They're devout believers in their causes and their political values.
Right.
I don't know Representative Deal very well, but I know Senator Starr has been in politics a lot for a long time.
Right. So is his dad.
And so has Jason Williams. He's been the Taxpayers Association for 20 years or more.
I think so. Yeah.
So you've got a good team leading this.
Right.
For really, really good folks leading it. So that's kind of what happened. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff, of course, that we didn't see because as Republicans, we weren't allowed in the room. And it was decisions and debates amongst Democrats. In this process, I think something that really stung you and me personally occurred. And this was the switching of political parties of Representative Javity.
Yes.
Representative Javity holds the position that you had in the House. And when you left the House, you were very supportive of him. And so this stings. And I as your staff, this is
very hurtful.
It really hurts. It really hurts.
Because, in all of his professed beliefs, in as he was running, they all aligned with the party that he subscribed to, the Republicans.
Right.
They did. And, I'm not sure exactly what happened. He did end up voting for the transportation package.
Right.
He has several videos and vlogs online that, he is telling you why he did it. But when you have that many people telling you how they want you to vote, and then you turn around and tell them that they really don't know what they want, that someone knows better than they do, and you go directly do the exactly opposite.
Yeah.
How can you do that?
I think what got me, because I thought my first thought is, well, if this guy really has had political changes of heart, okay,
and that could be, yes,
that could be. I remember having conversations. I didn't have conversations with him, but having conversations with his staff and his political consultant, who's one that you shared with him.
Yeah.
Was that he was very pro-life. He opposed abortion. He sponsored some bills with you that would have limited abortion. Certainly those bills didn't go anywhere, but you got to file them just because. Yeah. And he was right on board with those. And then I heard him in a podcast say, well, I wouldn't want to impose my views on anyone. It's one thing to change your points of view, but when you change your values, and that's a value. I mean, that's
a value.
You can have a different opinion on that, but that's part of your values. To change like that is there. It makes you feel, to me, very much like a nihilist, that you really don't believe anything, right, except for in power. And I have very little good things to say about Representative Javity, so I'll because I feel betrayed.
I do too.
Because we work to support him. Our staffs work together to get things done.
I endorsed him in his elections.
Yeah.
And then they used one of the flyers that, that I endorsed him on to attack me on this whole thing.
Yeah. Which is one of the reasons I wanted us to talk about
from a past election.
Yeah, which is why I wanted us to talk about this today, to give you especially an opportunity to say, of course we supported him, because he said agreed with us on pretty much everything.
Yes.
Which apparently is not the case. But look, at the end of the day, he's going to have to face voters.
Yeah.
I from a purely political side of things, I think this was a grave error. I think he's going to get his clock cleaned. If he makes it out of a primary, I think he's going to get his clock cleaned in the general. It was a giant mistake politically. But it is what it is.
It is what it is.
One of my favorite statements is, as sad as it is in politics, your friends are the ones who stab you in the front.
Yes. Yes.
And
I've got a sticker in my kitchen that says "There's no crying in politics."
Yeah. Well, I wish you should have put that on the desks of everyone in the legislature this year, because there's way too much crying on the floor. Way too much crying on the floor.
Yes.
And both.
Yes.
If you're thinking about running for the legislature, just make a promise you won't cry. Or if you're going to cry, go to your office and cry. Because there's plenty of times we wanted to go to our office and cry.
Yes.
But don't do it on the floor. One last thing, we didn't talk about this, but we should congratulate former Senator, but soon to be hopefully Assistant Secretary of Labor.
He's been approved.
Daniel Bonham. Did he get there?
He was approved this week. Yes.
Well, that went fast. I missed that. Well, congratulations, Assistant Secretary of Labor Daniel Bonham. Labor is it's like the Oregon show, right? We have a former Congresswoman, now Secretary Chavez DeRemer, Jehoon Han, dear friend of mine, and he worked in the House Republican office when you were running.
Yes,
I've known him for a long time. He's the chief of staff there. There's been a few. I think Rebecca Wright is deputy chief. She worked in the HRO as well. So a lot of Oregon folks there. So great to have some great Oregon representation in the Department of Labor. That's so cool.
Exactly. It is. It is.
Senator, anything else that you want to touch on before we wrap it up?
It said that there has been a speedy confirmation.
Excellent.
2 days ago.
Wonderful.
So he is the Assistant Secretary for Congressional and Intergovernmental Affairs in the U.S. Department of Labor.
That's awesome. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy, or a more competent and strategic legislator. It's a win for everybody.
It is.
Even if you are not on our side of the political aisle, you want to have people in these positions who are smart and competent, right?
I had a conversation with someone very recently about the fact that we currently don't have a statesman in Oregon. You know the definition of a true statesman.
Yeah.
But we did decide that if we were to name one, it would most likely be Daniel Bonham. That he was the closest to a statesman that we have in Oregon. And that's looking at either party.
Yeah. He's always a guy that you could shake his hand, he could give you his word, and it was as good as gold. Right. They're just not, like I said, your friend in politics is the guy who stabs you in the front. Right. Unfortunately, that's the case, but that's not the case with Daniel.
That's not the case with Daniel.
Who has overcome a lot of adversity over the last few years, losing his wife, who he loved dearly. Just so wonderful to see the good guys get ahead, right? I just really like to see that. So, congratulations, Assistant Secretary Bonham. When we're in DC next, we'll come looking for you.
Yeah, we had our picture taken together on the last day. Cool. It just.
We'll miss him here. We'll miss him here.
Oh my, yes, we will.
Senator, anything else that you want to say before we wrap it up for the month?
No. I just want to also allude to the fact that, we are being told to pay attention to politics in Washington right now
Oh, yes.
because we have caused such a stir here with our $4.3 billion tax hike.
Hmm.
So somebody is saying, squirrel, look over there. It's more important.
Yeah.
And we have got to stay focused on our state and what that $4.3 billion tax bill is doing to our state.
Right.
Not whether, yeah.
Important thing to remember is that the most impactful politics is the stuff that's closest to home.
Exactly.
So you'll have a lot of folks on the left who want to point you to all this terrible stuff that they say that Donald Trump is doing, but pay more attention to what your mayor is doing. Pay more attention to what your state legislature is doing, what your county commission is doing. Those are the folks that are going to get to your pocketbook the fastest. They're the ones who affect the most. So please make sure that you do pay attention to the man behind the curtain, right? Do not pulled into federal politics.
Right.
You got to know what's going on. That's important. But the stuff that really affects your life is right here at home.
It's right here. It's right within your city limits. Yes.
Right. Watch national news less. Take a look at what's happening in your city council and your state legislature.
Exactly. Thank you, Adam.
Do that. All right, Senator. I'm so glad we finally got to talk. It's been so long.
Me too. It's been a long time.
And we will hopefully continue to do these once a month in the interim.
In November, we've got Ledge Days coming up again.
We do. So we'll have a lot of stuff to hopefully report about what's coming up in that. We will go back to having weekly recordings during the short session, which will be in February. But that's a short session. It's only 1 month long, so you only get us for
35 days of fun.
For probably about 5 times.
Yes, and I think that we ought to tell people that when people are coming to me with ideas for proposed legislation.
Right.
We have exactly 2 bills that we can bring to the floor. And I've already got one of them that is going forward. And it's from the last session. But some of these bills take several sessions to get passed.
Yeah, I still think it's good if you do have a legislative idea, feel free to send it in.
Yes,
Senator Weber will not be in the legislature in 2027, but we hope that the person that you think is going to do the best job, which is Commissioner Bangs from Clatsop County, will be in your seat, and anything that we have, we will pass on to her, and anything we have, no matter who's in that seat, we'll pass on. So hopefully your ideas, even if we can't get to them in this short session, which we must be honest, probably we can't, as we only get 2 bills, they will be carried on to the next session, your next session. So all right, well, we will be back in November to talk about legislative days and all the stuff that happens beforehand. And thank you very much, Senator.
Thank you very much. Take care.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much. We'll see you next month.